Hi, everyone. We are back to another episode of the Janelle Show, and I am so excited for you guys to hear from our new guest, Beth Auguste. She is a registered dietitian, nutrition, fitness expert, and just a specialist on basically juggling everything that gives you a healthy lifestyle. She manages her life and has kids. And guys, she's an advocate for your wellness. I really am excited to speak to her because if you're a listener of this show, you know what I went through a couple of months ago back in 2022. And so I don't want to dwell on that, but I do want to talk to her about how I should have managed this better and how you guys can manage your self-care a whole lot more and adding in that wellness and juggling all these things. So Beth, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Beth, when I read your bio, I was like, oh, yeah, I need to talk to this lady because I think you mentioned to me you got a chance to listen to that episode, and it was a very scary time in my life. I wanted to be very honest with people with what was going on with me, especially because I was shutting down the podcast for a couple of months just to get myself centered and figure out if this was really what I wanted to do, you know? So as an entrepreneur, how do you help people to manage all of these things? Because it is quite overwhelming.
It is, yeah. And so, we were just saying right before we hit record that we were talking about, okay, what are we going to talk about today? And I said to you, I listened to the episode just before our call, and I was, I don't know, I felt called to have this conversation with you today after listening to that, which is that of course this happened, right? Not of course, and I'm sorry it happened to you, but of course, somebody who is working so hard to lift others up, who is taking care of their own kids, taking care of their family, taking care of other people as your business, running your own business. Of course, you're not noticing when little signs are popping up in your own body and in your own health. It's not shocking, but it's not good. And we all do it. I'm guilty of it too. I'm a wellness entrepreneur and I'm still guilty of ignoring my own wellness. And so I think you had an awakening, and I think it's really amazing and wonderful that you shared it on your podcast, because now we can talk about today, not just you, but we can talk about what your aha moment did for you, is allow us to have this conversation. And hopefully somebody listening will allow them to tune into their own body, their own health, their own needs, so they can catch something sooner, or so we can talk about today too, how to figure out how to fit in self-care when it's not your top priority. I work with a lot of, I wish I could just say my niche is busy people, but that doesn't mean anything to anybody. So, I wound up, because I'm a mom of two young kids, I have a 5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. And I just know that in that universe, there's such limited time for yourself. And so those are the people that I work with primarily right now, on figuring out how to fit in exercise, how to fit in healthy eating, how to fit in moments of breathing when you feel like you have no time for yourself. And when you're just, of course, it's the bottom priority. Like you have a deadline, like we were just about to start our meeting and you were like, I'm thirsty, but I'm going to ignore it because we're working. And I said, no, go get a water. Like we just put ourselves last and we don't even think about it. We just sacrifice because our jobs are important. Like raising our families is important. Dealing with our house is important. And so I hope today we can talk about little ways to fit in self-care that don't require you to all of a sudden put all that other stuff on the bottom, because you're not going to. It's all going to come back to the front. So that's what I hope we can dive into today. So I don't know if that answered how I help people.
No, that does answer, because I think what we're going to do now is we're going to transition into how you actually do it, right? So you said there were small things that we can do. I would love to hear personally these little small changes that I can make to improve, what I'm doing over here for my self-care. I started to go to the gym now. I've okay, I need to lose some weight. I told you I have a 2-year-old, so I've still got this lovely baby weight on me. So I started going to the gym now, working out. But what other small things can we do?
Good question. So part of my business, I do one-on-one nutrition counseling for people in Pennsylvania virtually, but I have a group program that I really love. It's called the Refresh. And I do a free 5-day one if anybody wants to try it, a free 5-day trial. But basically the idea is I call these things mini challenges, because I could throw a lot of ideas at you, but they're not all going to stick. So For you already, what I know so far is that you might be dehydrated because you think about your water, but you don't drink it. So for you, I would say like a mini challenge for this week would be before every new Zoom call. Like, so you had a meeting right before this, so you were running a few minutes late. Run an extra minute late and go get yourself a water, like go pee, go get a water before you sit back down. And so that could be your mini challenge. It sounds so little, but having a water, and sorry if I'm calling you out on your own podcast, but
No, you're fine. I like it. Go ahead.
But I think that's it feels so simple, but if you didn't do that extra minute and you didn't put the water in front of you, then you would be dehydrated. And if you're dehydrated, an analogy I really like to use is your body is like a sponge, right? So you soak up water. We like to have water on board. We know our bodies are made of a lot of water.
Mm-hmm.
If you're dried out, think about a sponge. When it's dry, you can tear it in half. When it's wet, you mold it, you twist it, you bend it, it doesn't rip. If your body is dry, you might be more stiff. You might get up from your chair and have more discomfort. You might just be crankier. You might not sleep as well. You might feel hungrier. There's so many things that we think, oh, what's the magic bullet for this? And we think it's some pill we have to buy or some book we have to read or some diet we have to follow, but it could just be hydrating. So before you do anything else, give yourself a mini challenge. There's a bunch of other mini challenges in there. You feel seen.
I feel very seen.
So let me ask you this. What's your roadblock? So you're going to the gym. Are there any roadblocks stopping you, or is this a new thing that's like going well?
It's going well. The roadblock was childcare. So I told you I have two little ones, and they're constantly, I homeschool them. So they're constantly with me. So I decided to put them into a homeschool co-op. So they go a couple of hours a day. That allows me gym time. That allows me recording time like this. And also the gym had to have childcare just in case the co-op wasn't available or I was overly busy during co-op.
Yeah.
So like tomorrow, there's no co-op. So they're going to go to childcare while I go to the gym so that I can keep the momentum going.
Nice.
So no roadblocks there. I feel really
Oh,
good.
Yay. Okay, good. All right. So you figured out the solution, but maybe somebody listening doesn't have childcare at their gym or has problems and they think to themselves, I'll just figure it out. That's what I hear all the time from my clients. I'm just going to make it work. I'll just figure out a way to make it work. But that's also a step that, no, you're not, because you're also figuring out how to solve this problem in your business. And you're also figuring out how to deal with temper tantrums. And you're also in my world right now, maybe older kids, you're figuring out, bigger issues probably, but you're always figuring something out. And so the gym doesn't have to happen. So figuring out childcare for the gym might not be on the top of your priority list. But if you think like, okay, what is the thing I really want to make sure happens? I want to make sure I move my body, right? That's the purpose of going to the gym. You want to get in shape. You want to tighten up from the baby. So then for somebody that can't do that, like, can you start smaller at home? Can you do some Cosmic Kids yoga with the babies? Can you do
fun show?
Yeah. We discovered the Go Noodle. I don't know if you know Go Noodle. It's like a whole world of other like kids entertainment stuff. But they have a video that's the meatball run or something. And there's like a moose and somebody's throwing meatballs and you have to squat a lot. So you can squat and you get your squats in and then the kids are having fun. So little things like that. Or if you have older kids, it could be like actually doing like a real workout video together. Right. And things and incorporating them. And so setting the example for them saying, I'm doing this so that you feel inspired and you feel like this is the norm. This is what we do. I actually recently did with my Refresh group members, we meet every week and we chat. And I had challenged somebody one of the members to do a experiment with herself where she couldn't exercise for more than 10 minutes a day for 10 days. So I needed her to learn that like, just because she couldn't work in her 45-minute workout, it didn't mean she had to do nothing. I wanted her to let go of her all or nothing mentality. So I wanted her to say, okay, I'm going to do 10 minutes. I'm going to stop. And I made her stop at 10 minutes for 10 days so that she could learn that 10 minutes is enough. Yeah. And so I did the challenge. So she did it. She had her aha moment. She realized, okay, I don't need to do 45, 10 minutes is enough. It was amazing. And then later, the other members of the group were talking about it. So we decided we'd all do this challenge. So I did it with them. I actually, if you look back on my Instagram, it's like from Thanksgiving 2022, I did 10 days of exercise. And my daughter, it was over Thanksgiving, so she happened to witness it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then she started teaching me exercise classes. Like it would be like, I'd be tired in the morning and not want to wake up. And she'd be like, get up and do exercise with me. And it just, it like rolls into itself. That makes me think of another analogy, and then I'll give you back the floor, but just another analogy that I really like to share with people. I feel like this is a good tip is I think about, maybe this is an old fashioned sailboat wheel where there's like the spokes sticking out of it. You know, you think about like the old pirate ship and it's all going in one direction, right? Like it's spinning in a circle. Each spoke, if you think of each spoke as an element of your self-care, so one might be fitting in exercise, one might be going to bed early, one is hydrating, one is eating enough protein or vegetables or whatever it is, meditating. And one of them for you is going to be easier to push in the other direction than the others. So for you, it's exercising, right? You're going to the gym. So if you focus on that one and make that one become a habit, it will start to push your wheel in the other direction, and it'll make it easier for you to eat better, sleep better, and all these things. And so everybody, so I'm talking about exercise here a lot, but everyone has their different spoke that turns the wheel the other way.
I like that. I like that a lot. Thank you. Yeah, that's great. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I also want to talk to you about, okay, so that's all health, right? But how do we find time to do all these other things, right? So yeah, it's great. That's great. I can work out, yeah, but I still have to manage my kids. I still have to manage my business. How do we find time to do all of these different things?
So this is another analogy. I'm a big fan of analogies.
Yes, please.
That I really like is the idea that, and I don't know where I heard this. I heard this from somebody else, so it's not mine, but you're juggling a lot of things. A lot of balls are in the air. Some of those balls are rubber and some are glass. And so which balls can you drop that are rubber that will bounce back up, and which ones are glass? And every moment a ball might be different, right? Like I might think a lot about kids because I have kids that get homesick and things, but let's think about another example. Like, you've got to work on fixing something in the house. Like there's like a roof that you're like, oh, we should replace this roof. I got to work on this and prioritize budgeting for this. And it's a while away. So that's a rubber ball. So you can let it drop. But at some point it becomes a glass ball because the roof is going to leak and it's going to cause more damage. So the balls shift. And you kind of have to reevaluate maybe as you're planning your schedule for the week or the day. What are my glass balls this week?
I like that. Thank you. So how often are we reevaluating our balls?
All the time.
All the time. That adds another thing to what we have to do.
I know. I don't know the answer to it. I mean, I don't know. I've worked with a lot of busy people. And I feel like for everybody, it's different. Some people love planning and organizing, and they feel more like they're clear-headed when they have structure. And some people, the structure feels like they are tied down and in a cage and they hate it. And so it's really different for everybody, I think.
I like that. That kind of relates me to what I tell my clients all the time, because they're like, well, Janelle, how do I do marketing for my business? And really your marketing is based off of you, right? What do you like to do? What do you like? What do you enjoy? And where is your target audience? So that's kind of similar for, planning out your day. For me, I like the structure. So on Sundays, I make a to-do list for the week. These are the things that I have to get done. And if I don't get it done, that's okay. I give myself that grace and it rolls into the next week. But I at least need to have that list done. Otherwise, my week goes terrible.
Yeah.
So there's some people like me that have the list, and then there's people that don't have the list. How do they manage things? Because my brain can't even fathom how people don't have lists.
It's funny because I'm the not list person.
Great.
I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's how I work, right? I was actually taught, and I tried it, doing time blocking. And so having, like right now for me, so I see clients in the middle of the week, and then Mondays and Fridays I time block out for projects. And what I did that didn't work was I said, okay, on this day I'm going to do marketing outreach. On this day I'll do nurture. On this day I'll do accounting. And that didn't work because my brain some days just didn't want to do those things. And so
Mhm.
instead now I just have a block that's like project work. And then I just go into my little Google folder of like, which project do I feel like working on today? And I just
Yep.
open it.
Yep. And that's what I mean by doing what works for you, right? The time blocking
Mhm.
did not work. Well, time blocking works, but like you said, it did not work picking a specific theme. Monday marketing, Tuesday. No, that didn't
Mhm.
work for me at all. No. Mm-mm. And
Mhm.
I think as entrepreneurs and creatives, we just have to kind of go with the flow with things.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is hard to do. Um, I know that's the one thing I've learned in the last few years of taking different courses and working with different coaches and working with clients is that there's no cookie cutter and you've got to figure out what works for you. And it's kind of all hard. I think
Mhm.
recognizing and accepting that it's hard, like there's no way to make it fully easy, can also be a release.
I'm sometimes jealous of people that have jobs.
Yeah. I get it.
I'm like, it sounds so simple. It sounds so nice to just tell me what to do. I do it. And it's in this parameter right here. I'm good.
I
I just do
know.
this one specific thing. Sounds so simple. I love being an entrepreneur. I would not get a job, but
Yeah.
it just sounds so simple.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the nice thing about time blocking or whatever type of organizing is that like past you told future you what to do. So if you do have some kind of a plan, then you don't have to think of what to do all the time.
Yeah.
And that's actually something that I find with my clients is that, and in mine, it's my program is a health program. So I think about its health goals that they have and habits that they're working on is that they'll find something that works and they'll stop looking at the program or the lists or the ideas. And then they'll sit there after that one thing that works is kind of going, or they decided not to do it. And they'll be brainstorming what to do next. And that takes up so much brain power. And so that's one of the things. I don't know if that's advice or what, but I think that because I don't know if I follow my own advice, that's what I'm saying. But I think it is a good piece of advice is try to eliminate the thinking about what to do and try to, if you thought about it before, have that list, look back at it, whether it's a to-do list that has to happen this week and it's structured and time blocked, or if it's just like a big list. Like now I also have, you can't see it on the screen, but I've got like a sticky note corner in my office and there's different colors. And it's like, I just go look at the list and say like, which item from this list do I feel like working on right now? So at least I'm not thinking of like, what are all the things I need to do? I'm just thinking like, which one will I do? And that's kind of like a boss giving you tasks, right? Like historical Beth put that list there and current Beth is like picking a task off the bucket.
I like that. I like that. That's a way of thinking about it. I am not that organized in my list. My list is just a Google Doc and it's like projects. That's all it's called. And
Mm,
I just go through and type all the things that I want to do, that I need to do. And then I just go through and
mhm.
cross it out once I get it done as they happen. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I think we all work different ways. One person once described it to me, that's also really helped me as think about departments. So like today I'm not seeing clients. So today the clinician is not in the office, right?
Mm.
Like tomorrow my marketing person will be off that day. And so if you think of it that way, then you're not jumping from task to task, which I think can save some stress and brain power too.
Yeah, yeah, focus. At least when I pick a task, I have to focus in on it and say, okay, this is
Mhm.
what I'm working on today. And what I've also been doing recently is to text a friend of mine and I just say,
Mm.
this is the task that I'm going to be doing today. I call it my MIT. So my most
Mhm.
important task. And I'm like, this is my one thing that I have to get done. If anything else doesn't get done, it doesn't matter, but this one task will be done. And that's been working for me.
I
So
love that. I really love that.
yeah.
I've tried in the past to have accountability buddies where you talk about, your business goal at the beginning and end of the week, and it doesn't always
But
work,
this is
but
not an accountability buddy. This is
yeah.
me just texting her and telling this is what I'm doing. She's not.
She's just like, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
she just hearted it, but it's just that's me. That's just
Yeah,
me giving accountability to myself. Like
I
I'm
love
telling
it.
somebody about it. So,
Yeah.
and then at the end of the day, I just texted her and said, yesterday was my book. I needed to finish an ebook that I was listening to, an audiobook. And I was like,
Mhm.
I finished the audiobook. And she was like, great. Did you like it? Yes, I did. It's done. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Oh, that's great. I love
It's
that.
the small things.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I had a question for you based off what you were just saying, but now I forgot what it was. Um, yeah, how else do you stay structured?
I use project management tools. I am very
Right.
structured and organized in my mind, at least I am.
Mhm.
So I use Asana, and I have a small team that I work with, and everybody has tasks that are on Asana, and then we talk to each other. They're all over the world. So we use WhatsApp
Mhm.
to chit chat with each other. I'm big on Google Docs and spreadsheets on there. So I'm constantly creating different spreadsheets. I like information, and I have a lot of research done on different things, podcasts that I want to be on different companies that I want to work on, sponsorship things that I'm working on. So just I've created all kind of documents and stuff, and everything is itemized in folders in Google Drive.
Oh, that's nice. See, we
Yeah.
all are organized in different ways because my Google Drive is a hot mess where I'm just like, I search, I'm like, Janella. Okay, there's Janelle, there she is. Like, I don't have it in folders. So,
It was mine used to be like that maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, and I realized I wasn't
mhm,
as productive because it wasn't in folders
mhm.
constantly. So I can't remember what I named something.
Yeah.
So
That's
if I
also a great idea though, is thinking about how am I more productive and how am I less productive? Because
Mhm.
I think also listening to different people's advice, if I listen to you, I would feel like, oh, I need to get more productive. I need to make folders. But I shouldn't think that. I should think, would that make me more productive? Am I
Right.
less productive because there's no folders? Is it worth for my schedule? And that's something maybe people listening could take away from this is don't just take to heart what somebody who seems like they've got it together says and does. Think about, would this work for me?
Yeah, because then I was in a program and this lady had a big Google Doc, and it looked amazing. But it really wasn't. When I sat and
Mm,
when I went through it, I was like, no, this could definitely be done better. So I revamped
mhm,
it to make it better in my mindset of how it should be done. Adding in links and connection. I just made it basically a big doc where anybody on
mhm.
my team can go in and basically click links and get access to things that they needed to get at. My logo, my hex codes, everything is in this
Nice.
Google Doc. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's just my way of organizing things now.
Yeah, that's great. That's really
But like you
great.
said, everything doesn't work for everybody. So that might overwhelm
Mhm.
somebody. Like Trello overwhelms me where I like to look at Asana. So everybody's brain works differently.
Yeah, I know I can't use any of those ones. I tried ClickUp.
No, I
I
don't
liked it, but I can't. It never lasts.
I can't use any of those things. I can't use the only one I can use is Asana, and it's simply because it's a to-do list.
Mhm.
And I love to-do
Mm.
lists. So that's just the way it goes. But Beth, I really appreciate you being here with me. Do have one more question for you. I need to get from you a book,
Oh
a
yeah.
referral, a suggestion. I'm a big book, as you can tell, I'm a big book reader.
Mhm.
So what book do you love? What book changed your life? Something.
So I was thinking about this, about books, and so this is a podcast of people who are entrepreneurs, and so thinking about that, the book that I think has been the best for me so far in that world is Story Brand,
I know it.
which I think everybody probably knows.
Yeah.
But it helped me. I read it. I took so many notes in the middle of it. It helped me clarify my brand voice so much better than I think anything else did. And I think even if you're going to work with somebody on your branding, still doing that book first could be really helpful because it it just helps you understand how branding and voice works. And then when you get to the professional that's kind of going to help you, you can have a better conversation. But then you also asked this, and earlier you told me you warned me you were going to ask about books, which I appreciate. um, and I'm reading this other book right now that feels it's narrative, but it also feels a little self-helpy, which I like. It's
Mhm.
by Lori Gottlieb. It's called Maybe You Should Talk to Someone.
Hmm.
I'm reading it. It's just so I use the Libby app with my library. You can
Mhm,
download a book
mhm.
onto your phone.
Yeah.
And so she's a therapist that wrote a book about her experience working with her own therapist. And it's
Mm,
interwoven with her experiences with her own clients. And it's
mm.
just really interesting because I thought I knew what went on in a therapist's brain, but it turns out I have no idea. And it's helping me reflect on myself a little bit, which is really cool because it's not, I don't know people out there, but how people out there are. I would love to read more of the self-help type of books, but when I'm reading, I want it to be like watching TV, just absorbing. I don't want to be thinking,
Mhm.
unless it's reading something for work. So this book is nice because you still get to feel like you're reading a narrative story. It turns off your brain, but it still makes you think. which
I
is
like that.
nice.
I like that. It's a story within a story with some tips in it. I
Mhm.
like it. I like it. Okay, I'll grab that one. That made me think. I was having a conversation with my mother the other day, and she was like, my sister's been going to therapy, and she's like, your sister outgrew her therapist because her therapist
Mhm.
started telling her her business. And I was like, I think that that's what they do to build rapport. It's
Yeah.
like, I have problems too. So I'm not a therapist. I don't know, but I just feel like that's what they do, because I've had that experience myself and somebody else told me they did too. So I'm interested to see if that's in the book as well.
She
Is
does touch on that. Yeah, she
Mhm,
does. Yeah.
I thought so.
Yeah. And it's interesting because so as a dietitian, when you're in school, when I was in graduate school and they were teaching us about counseling, I remember our teacher told us, be plain, be the plainest nothing, don't show them who you are because it will change how the interaction is.
Mhm.
But then in working with people, I found that doesn't work. They want to know that you're a human. It helps to bond. And I thought that was just something that I was doing, but I've been hearing more and more therapists. And I listened to this one podcast, Shrink Chicks,
Mm.
and they talk about how they show who they are in their therapy sessions because it just helps with the connection with your client. And but it's interesting having my experience of being taught not to show my personality, but then rejecting that, and then hearing therapists talk about that same experience. So I think it's a new thing, but I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I wonder why she told you that though. Did she give an explanation of why she said not to reveal yourself to people?
I think they didn't want us to change how the person was talking to us. So I remember them telling us if somebody's giving you a diet history and they're telling you what they eat, don't say good or oh, because it'll
Mm.
make them then change and kind of lie to you, which I don't think is
Uh,
true.
right.
And then you don't want the person to try to, I don't know. I think it was they don't want you to influence the client in a way that makes the client try to look good for you or try to mimic you. But I
Interesting.
think that it missed the nuance that I can tell a client, they can ask me what kind of food I like to eat. And I can say, well, I like these foods, but that I'm not you. I don't have your health condition. I don't have your needs. So we're not, it doesn't mean that you should do what I'm doing. Which is actually, if anyone out there is talking to your personal trainers about what they eat and they're telling you chicken and rice and they're 25 years old and like a dude full of muscle, stop listening to them. Because that's one thing I did witness in my career is like that happening. And then these like 40-year-old women taking the advice of a 25-year-old dude try to eat the same thing as him. Like that's not the same. You don't have the same needs. So
It's really interesting. I never thought about it. Like maybe you should get a personal trainer that is similar to you, like a female or you know what I mean, similar age range or something like that. That's interesting. More to think about in life.
or just don't take the advice of if they tell you do what I'm doing and they have a very different life, body, age, needs than you, then don't eat what they're eating. But if
Right.
they're like, oh, I can give you advice on what you should eat, well, I eat this different food, sure, then listen to them.
Yeah, but I found that if let's use the example of a 25-year-old man, he doesn't have the same struggles mentally that I
Yeah.
have. So they wouldn't be able to give me any advice because they can't
Yeah.
relate on that level. That's just how my opinion on things.
No, I get that too, because that's, when I was a dietitian working with people, like working with moms before I had kids,
Right.
the advice I would give, I thought I understood. And then I became a mom and I was like, oh no, when somebody with kids says they don't have time, like they really don't have time. It's not an excuse.
Yep. I had that discussion the other day and I was like, please don't give me advice. Please. I don't want it.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole, like, just do it. Like, no, you can't just do it. And that's why we started today's conversation talking about roadblocks, because you can't just do what you want when you've got all of this stuff on your plate.
Nope. It's not what it used to be.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean you can't do it in some way.
No,
You just have to figure out,
no. You just have to
tweak the
alter.
way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 Well, Beth, thank you so much for being here with me. This was so much fun.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. This was great.
Thank you guys for listening to the Janelle Show. We are here every Sunday at 10 a.m. You guys have a fabulous day and tweak something small in your life to make us a bit of improvement. And we will see you next week.
Bye.